Good morning to the members of ACC and morning. And as Brother Roy and the family is not here, and he has assigned the preaching messages to some of the members until that he'll be covering. And so we all known to each other, right? It's not that very formal introduction is required. And this will be the topic for today. So the topic is walking in the footsteps of Jesus. If you have to walk in the footstep of Jesus, so what do you think it is? So since the 2000 years and above, before earlier to until now, that nothing has been changed with the scriptures inside what has been mentioned in the Bible, as well as nothing being deducted. So it is the same scripture. But if you have to apply and walk through the footsteps of Jesus in this modern era, how things are going to be. It's the timeless teachings of Jesus. Nothing has changed. And we try to apply today's modern, maybe the technology-wise, culture, values, so many things got changed, isn't it? So still, is it relevant? Is it the Jesus preachings and the scriptures that we follow? Do you think it is still relevant today? So let's try to explore more of what is this Jesus teachings, how it is going to guide us in some of the respects, embracing equality and fairness. So the section heading should not mislead you. So the Jesus is not involving in any betting. And from the perspective of Jesus, so what the sports betting looks like. Just to come across some of the article, okay, why not we relate with that? Some of the modern culture that we see, how it will be dragged on, how we can apply with the Bible preachings and the scriptures wise. And the Jesus perspective of richness is about wealth. Do you think it is wealth and prosperity? It is not. It is not about the wealth and prosperity or materialism. So true riches, according to Jesus, should be how much of goodness you can bring in to the people's life or to your communities. That is what the richness means. A person can be a billionaire, stored a maze of wealth, but still haven't contributed anything for the society. Still he or she is going to be not a rich person. So riches is how much goodness we can give to our society, fellow people. That shows the richness. We'll try to explore more about the economic choices we can pursue. Now, economic choices means we can become rich, super rich in one day or eventually in 20 years, morally or immorally. People can amass wealth. So what are the economic choices you are going to pursue in your life? At the same time, you are going to benefit communities, right? You are going to offer the selfless gratitude and our help to the communities, we'll see. I'll bring some water, so it will rain down. So Jesus and economic ethics. You might have heard about what is the NFL means, the National Football Leagues. It's a famous football league in USA. Around 36 states out of the 50 states in United States, they have legalized sports betting. And they used to advertise about the betting, invite them to participate. So it is legalized one. And one has to create the sports booking and create an account, bank account, deposit the money, and they can choose various aspects of betting. The aspects could differ from, let's say, the point spread or a particular player props betting, that particular proposition. Choose a player, then now what is the player scores a point or passing the yards, touchdowns, and what's the goal that the particular sports person, they happen to be the outcome of that end of the game. Based on that, people can bet, right? So is it morally neutral to engage in betting? Do you think it is morally neutral? And if the tradition, Christian Judaism tradition might say that betting is bad, gambling is bad. That's what the Christian and Judaism traditions might say. But is there any textual warning explicitly mentioned in the Bible? Can you open up the Bible and say, okay, here's a particular phrase that says betting is sinful? Is there any direct, explicit phrases you have come across? You might not. But at the same time, but indirectly, we try to infer the immorality in acting and where we have to place our heart, right? That's what today's topic about. So the Christian moralists might claim that attempting to get something out of nothing seem to be illegal or immoral, which means a person who is betting is not putting the full toiling the effort to earn the money, but happen to get the money out of nothing. If you think this is immoral, and then Western society right now, they also have the belief, the changing trends in the society, if you notice, people should be allowed to make money comfortably, rather than that in an unhealthy way, they have to keep on working hard. That's what the Western society values about the capitalism. They have to work smarter to make money. It's not that they toil and work hard and hard. Smartly means illegally, in the sense legally they have to. That seem to be the values of the Western society today. But if you carry forth the argument that something that you get out of nothing, that means engaging in betting and getting something out of it, if you think this is immoral, you may try to equate the same formula in many aspects in our life. So, for example, accepting inheritance from your parents. Let's say you get your parents passed on the property assets in your name, but you didn't earn for it. And do you think that you get something out of nothing? You didn't work for it, but your parents or grandparents passed on the property in your name. Do you think it is immoral activity, something getting out of nothing? So just merely born into the family, being a blood lineage, can it be called as immoral activity? Are you selling a piece of land for a profit? You buy, let's say, a land for 1 million bought 5 years back, now you sell for 5 million. 1 million you bought 5 years back, now for 5 million you sell. Remaining profit is 4 million bought, you got as a profit. You didn't earn, or we can say you didn't work for the increase in land appreciation. Did you work for the land appreciation that in the last 5 years your land value will appreciate? You didn't work for it. So something, the profit that you get out of nothing, but do you think that still it is immoral? And lastly, Christian gospel says that sinners, they receive the grace out of nothing. So in the sense that, let's say you've been Christian for generations after generation, so faithful, probably God would be offering you the grace a bit later, slightly later, than another sinner who converted to Christianity just yesterday. He happened to receive an amazing grace, so which is the generous gratitude of Christ who offered such grace. So can we say it is an immoral activity on the part of God being too generous for somebody just one day back that they turned from being sinful and converted to Christianity? Could we place that as an argument? But the point is, in a larger proportion of the gamblers, they've been addicted and become morally ruined. They destroy their life, their family life. Those kind of addiction is prohibitable. The last 10th commandment, that among the 10 commandments, the last commandment says that you should be not, have an eye on the private assets or property of another person, whether another people's wife or animals, stocks or property, that we should not think of coveting, right? Coveting another person's property and assets to make you rich. So that is immoral. And if you are engaging in such activities as such, then it is an immoral activity, obviously. Jesus also asserted that you cannot be serving two masters at the same time. That is, the mammon, the materialist blessings are towards God. And Jesus also mentioned that it is difficult for a camel to enter into the needle, or the rich person to enter into heaven is so difficult. So in this case, you have to serve with one particular master. So who will be the master? Somebody also had to tell me about the timing. So if I exceed the time, just alert me. Okay. So the treasures in heaven. I think this may not work. Let me try to make some adjustments here so that I'll try to access the feature. Okay. So treasures in heaven, right? So do not store up yourself the treasures of earth, treasures on the earth. It will be destroyed. And just to look for storing up the treasures in the heaven, and nobody can steal. So in short, And so if somebody can tell Jennifer, for instance, that give away all the grace that you received, you stored in the heaven, do you think that somebody can steal it? It is not. So the benevolency, the good work of yours is going to be safer and guarded. Okay. It's frozen. Slide is frozen. Okay. Oh, it went to 22nd. All right, this one. So Jesus, so in the case of economic ethics, right, based on the picture you had the idea what is this scenario means. Jesus was very angry to see the people turning the sacred place into a marketplace. And the main prime reason is that people prioritize for making profit rather than being piety and trying to be, increasing the faith and Christian values. So they've been interested in commercializing and making money. That seemed to be the priority. For example, in today's sports events, when you go for an NFL or any football games, when you go, what do you look for as a spectator? What do you look for in the game? Excitement, entertainment, and the teamwork that you wanted to see. But if we were told that some of the players happen to talk to the bookies indirectly, that what is the score they have to get, maybe in the goal, 3 goals if they get, and probably the person get 5% commission. He should not score anything beyond 3 scores in the goal or 2, so it should be exactly 3. So if the sportsman can achieve that because of the bookie, right? They engage in betting, and he may get a good proportion of the commission money. And if that is the case, the person is not going to work hard in order to achieve the coordination of the work. We cannot get inspired out of these sports events. The same case with the place, worship place. What should be the main priority supposed to be? So it should be of faith-based, and the profit comes second. In our own life, we have to prioritize. It is nothing wrong to earn money and being commercially success, nothing wrong in it. So always it is appreciable, but at the same time, what you have to give prioritize in the sense, we should not forget that the more value or the earthly possessions you store is going to be eaten away, or it is temporary. So even after your death, that you are everlasting, you can be peaceful, and you can find a solace in the hands of God in heaven, provided that you place this as your more priority, right? That's God's salvation as more priority. So that's what you have to look for. Therefore, as dear members of ACC, if you take a moment, you can just inwardly, you can look into yourself and see. So is it the temporary joys being overshadowed by we can say that is being overshadowed the values of Christianity? So what is the thing we have to prioritize, we have to consider, and we have to see that fleeting moments of pleasures, that temporary joy and materialism is temporary. That's not going to be forever. Okay, so this, the parable, the story that Jesus, he was narrating this. And we'll take a moment about the gambling, the sports gambling that we had. People involved in stupid risks, right? The sports betting and other betting, they involve in some stupid risks. And sometimes people invest heavily on stocks or shares, but not adequately researching on that. Sometimes you might be betting that you are not afford to lose that bet. So there are all the high risk investments. People involved in stupid decisions. But the Bible didn't forbid risky investments. So you will be shocked to hear, did Bible say that you should not take any risky investments? It did not. What Bible says is that Jesus was encouraging to take risk to pursue the kingdom of God, isn't it? You have to take risk to pursue the kingdom of God. And in this example, before you go to the example, I'm not endorsing here that you go and do the gambling, taking the risk, or not. I'm discouraging you. My intention is just based on this Matthew 13:45 to 46, where you wanted to place your priority in taking risk. If you see that Jesus, he compares the kingdom of heaven to the merchant seeking valuable pearls. Maybe he knew, I think often he was yawning. So right now I can quote him as an example. So let's say some of your friend gave you sourceful information that you can get a pearl or a diamond in Antarctica, and they've been selling at a very cheap price. Maybe they did not know the actual value of it. And will you be selling off your assets and your properties, a risk that you take to pursue the valuable thing so that you can settle down in your life? Will you be flying to Antarctica and participate in that auction and get the diamond back to Thailand, and you can get millions of dollars that you can get in one time? Will you be taking the risk, going all the way, fetching that precious stone, right? And so just an example, no need to answer. And similarly, so what if somebody say that there is also a seminar that is going on in USA, right? Maybe a 15 minutes eye-opening seminar about how to achieve salvation. Will you be willing to sell some of your assets to fly all the way to USA to participate in that seminar? How much of investments you are ready to take risk so that you can pursue the kingdom of God? So you try to equate with the pearl as well as to going to heaven. Are you willing to take risk in investing to pursue, to go to achieve the salvation or go to kingdom of God? So that is a part we try to encourage. Okay. Jesus and the government. Some of the things popped up in my mind. I just include some of the parts just to see, to find the answers. Jesus and the government. And did Jesus say anything about the government? So Jesus is there to change the hearts and minds of the government? Did he align with any particular political party during his days? If you try to notice, it is not. Jesus' approach was towards individuals and towards morality, not about government. He just addressed to change the hearts of individual person. And Jesus' teaching focused on personal morality, individual charity or individual sacrifices, but not about the government. So Jesus saves, but he doesn't share with your politics. You may be belonging to yellow shirt in Thailand, yellow shirt party, or red shirt party. I think New might know. I think here Mr. Kenny might know. So the Jesus, if he's alive today, and he's not going to align with any political party, liberal or Republican, right wing, he's not going to align, right? So he's going to focus on the individual's mindset, and he encouraged selflessness, sacrifice and love without expectation. You have to offer, you sacrifice and offer love without expecting anything in return. So these are some of the values that Jesus was enforcing, and all the actions of Jesus was towards pleasing the God. Whatever the miracles he might have conducted, it is not to get inspirations into him or to make others to glorify him, but to please his God. So that was the ultimate action that he was involved with. So Jesus' teaching is all about the individual choices and not about governmental structures, we know. And many other values Jesus taught is also about not about the quid pro quo. It didn't include quid pro quo. Do you know what is quid pro quo? So quid pro quo, it is expecting something in return for something, expecting something in return for something, right? Expecting something. When you offer something, even at the church, Brother Roy often used to say that, offer with your full heart. So don't offer something to the church with having something in your mind. Okay, I wanted to pass my exam, here's the offering, and I want to do something. So we cannot offer something by getting something back in return. So it's the full-fledged that offering that you have to offer. And Jesus is, we cannot portray him to be a capitalist or Marxist or socialist or any other kind. And it is all about, his teachings were about treat each other, not what should be mandated by the government. So the Jesus was telling individual that how you need to treat another member. Government in your country cannot enforce, saying that you have to offer something without expecting something. What will happen if the country government leader says in a public meeting, right, that you have to love each other, don't expect anything. So when you offer, it doesn't suit well, but Jesus could. So Jesus, as a spiritual leader, he has taken this moral values, Christian values, that he was enforcing to change the individual mindset. Therefore, it is not the government to enforce these. So it is the Jesus who has been the pioneer as a spiritual leader. He has enforced to bring certain changes within we as individuals. Jesus and migration. So in this section, the Abraham's journey, that he might be very comfortable, settled down, but God called him to go to a promised land that he has never seen. Ignoring all his comforts, he has to travel months, years. Even he could not reach the land that God has promised. He could able to see from a distance, but God has kept up his promise, so that he can find a new place, land, and that he able to come and able to reach. But there are people migrate to many other parts of the world for work reason, economic reason, or for spiritual calling reason. They used to migrate. And one other statistical information just I spot through. And for example, in the case of India, so almost 400,000 Indian nationals happen to be immigrated to OECD countries. OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation Development. In short, we can say it's the rich countries, European Union or USA, Australia, New Zealand. So these are all the group of OECD countries that has been formed in the past. And they used to migrate, maybe for study or for work, and even around, I may not able to use that. Okay, so around 400,000 Indian students traveled abroad for studies, or Indian government having a contractual agreement with certain countries like Portugal, Germany, Australia. In the case of the smooth migration relation, they have the agreements that have been signed. Even a low-skilled or non-skilled person, if they immigrate to USA, they could see 500% increase in salary. They might see compared to one has to work back in India. So there will be many particular reason people migrate. I'll come back about this part later. And in the Israelites, they also left Egypt, and they wandered around for 40 years before they settled down in Canaan. And these are the things that we have seen through, right, from the Bible. And Abraham, he has to leave for Ur and seeking a better land. So Hebrew 11:13-16, it mentions about the patriarchs of the old being promised about a land. But the moment Abraham sees the land from a distance, he might have the feeling that they are the strangers in a foreign land. When you enter into a land during those days, right, you're not invited, you're not citizen of a particular land. You are feeling yourself an alien or a stranger in a particular land. You don't know how that foreign country will be treating you, with respect or with a brutal attack. You do not know. And we try to understand the happenings of these migrations in the past and how we have to reflect in the modern day society. If there is any migration takes place, people wanted to move across the countries for economic reason, for spiritual reason, how a person need to be treated by considering the happenings of the past from the Bible. And even Abraham might be thinking that he is on an exile on the earth. If he has to go back, he don't know where to go. So Abraham traveled all the way to covering up many kilometers and months of travel, and he seemed to be in exile, right? As he don't have any other way to go. And people seek better country, for many reasons, better opportunities, prosperities, or quality of life. So what we have to reflect on these. So embracing the strangers. we saw the movement of Indians, maybe students or the people who has to migrate to stay in the country for some reasons in the OECD countries. As a believers, that we are reminded about the biblical call to show hospitality to tourists, the strangers. Even I noticed that some of the Thai members in Israel, so who've been participating, been kidnapped by Hamas. So I don't know how many of them. So do you have the idea how many Thai members been kidnapped by Hamas recently?
Can you please slowly?
Okay, so recently, you know that Thai members were kidnapped in Israel by Hamas. Do you know how many Thai members were kidnapped? Is it 2, 3, 4, 5?
That many number, I think if I'm not something like that, it's up to 1,000 something.
Sorry?
It's up to 1,500. I think there are many number.
No, Thai members.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those ones that are farmers in Hamas.
Yeah.
Those ones they kidnap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah.
No. My question to him was, do he know? I understand. Do he know how many Thai members been kidnapped? Are you aware? Kidnapped, yeah. Kidnapped. Yeah, because I just see that information 1 week back. It was not conclusive how many members actually was kidnapped. 6 members. Okay, the latest figure is 6 members were kidnapped. So my point here is that people even from Thailand, they migrate to many other countries for work. So whether it's Israel or in USA, many countries, and as being a stranger in another country, they've been treated with respect. So similarly, when we see the migrants across the world from the standpoint from the Abraham or until now, we see that as being a host country, so when they invite for the migrant, they have to provide the opportunities for them, right? So that is the equality. We wanted to treat with fairness and equality to the strangers, because I don't want to go deep into the sentimental of 1,500 members was kidnapped. I don't want to. My point was different. I wanted to go deeper. Yeah. Okay. So in these nations that we have to reflect the blessings that the members has received. We have to reflect on the blessings to any of the new members that they come. We have to practice gratitude. So gratitude, we have to be more gratitude. It can happen even from Nigeria, from India. If we see any migrants comes in, so we should not be brutal, we not be offensive. So we have to be very considering. I think in Italy, this is a country, very hospitable country. So I think many migrants happen to land in Italy, even though it is also increasing the uproar. There are some opposition right now might happen, but they are very benevolent country of treating with respect. So we have learned a lot about the migrations in the past as well as right now. So we have to guard against materialism. Right? The many data point might say that significant gains one can gain out of migration, but the mere goal should not be the economic goal. Our purpose is not just to become rich. That should not be the ultimate goal. We have to be against the lure of materialism. And Jesus' non-political messages. Jesus have been addressing so many issues, but he is non-political in the messages that he has delivered during his time. And during his time, there were a lot of wars that went on, right? During the time of Jesus Christ. So it is not that peaceful time. Many wars within Israel and outside nearby. The Roman Jewish war or Roman civil wars and Parthian Empire, various regional conflicts all took place. But what was the role of Jesus that time? What was his stand? What was his messages? He was non-political. He was talking about the spiritual and addressing the changes and need of an individual. He did not touch anything about politics, right? He did not say anything about politics. If you have to go or follow the footprints of Jesus Christ, are we going to talk about politics? Are we going to talk about politics? No. So that means we will be refraining from politics. We are not going to attack a particular political party from the church. We are not going to say anything bad about a political organization. So that means we have to be politically neutral. So we'll see the next slide we can see. So non-political messages of Jesus was spiritual and moral matters, and he is also mentioned about, okay, so maybe this particular scenario, just we'll recollect back, Pharisees and Herodians. So Pharisees and Herodians, so they are the two sects of religious groups. They used to compete against each other, debating against each other. They come together to pose a challenging question to Jesus. They are posing a challenging question. What was the question? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? Caesar was a king, and is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus said that, okay, bring the denarius. It is a dollar, or the Thai baht. Okay, he just took, and he told, what belongs to Caesar, give it to him, and what belongs to Jesus, or what belongs to God, you have to pay what the God seeks you. So this way that he able to make the Pharisees and Herodias astounded with the way that he able to explain. And Jesus was non-violent in his approach, and he was emphasizing on the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, his message is mostly of non-political in nature during his time. So we wanted to walk in the footstep of Jesus. So maybe some of the aspects we learned today will also help us to shape ourselves, how we have to behave inside or outside the church. I cannot enforce you, on the other hand, but we try to explain more about how Jesus was. So the C, that stands for circa, that means around or approximately, the historical context of the conflicts that took place when Jesus was there. During that time, whenever Israel is fighting right now against Hamas, and in the Bible we see whenever there is a fighting that takes place, there is some justification behind why this war took place, and if a war has been won by Israel or lost by Israel, there are some sins that has been aligned with. Right? Who used to say all these? We can say that Pharisees, teachers, or Sadducees, they were there during long back, even before Jesus Christ. During the presence of Jesus Christ in the Bible, we don't see the prophets. The prophets, they used to predict what happened in the past. But later on, we don't see that during the time of Jesus or after the death of the Jesus, we don't see any name about the prophets. Or emergence of name of prophets has been emphasized. During the time of Jesus, he is a central figure, the talk of the town, and therefore we don't see so how this particular war has been won and what's the reason for the failure. We may not able to say what God wanted to say, because prophet, they receive the message from God and pass it on to the public. But after the death of Jesus, we don't see any prophets. Right? No more has been mentioned. Now, just to observe, if somebody is claiming them to be the prophet, we cannot accept that. So the prophet has been died. Even I think John could be a kind of a prophet, the lost prophet. During the time of Jesus, we could see. Otherwise, we don't see any more prophets that could predict and receive the message from God to pass on to the public. So why that Israel happened to be engaged in a war right now, and why, people may say, so we may not able to listen to those cults. And Jesus and gender equality. So tens of thousands of women and the non-binary people, they happened to participate in the strike recently in Iceland. They participated. You might have come across, I think 2 weeks back this incident happened. And why it is a significant thing? It's about inequality, gender inequality between women and men. United Nations, they introduced this gender inequality index, and that can be measured through maternal mortality or adolescents' birth, educational attainment, and representation in workforce. Based on these criteria, they can determine what is the gender inequality. Iceland is the top nation, ranked number 1 in equality. They enforced equality than any other countries in the world. Out of this 146 countries, not including Russia, has not been included, but 146 countries wise, Iceland seemed to be the ranked number 1 country enforcing equality in gender wise many years. So I think more than 6 to 10 years time consecutively they ranked top, but still they happen to engage in a strike enforcing that there is inequality. Around 21% of gender wage gap has been enforced or seen in Iceland. So they are striking, affecting, which impacted the schools, airlines, and various services has been affected as a result of this strike. The strike also took place after 50 years of time in Iceland. Such a massive strike took place 50 years earlier. So this is the second time which is happening. Okay. So gender gap, right? So some part could be saying in the United States, they may say if man and woman work equally and if they better equal pay, they can increase the contribution to the GDP up to $4.3 trillion they can attribute. So nothing wrong in it. I think the previous slide, did I miss something? Okay, this is something I missed to explain about some of the countries that you see here. One is Philippines. So Philippines is ranked 16. So what does it show? So more equality has been enforced in Philippines. And how about Italy, ranked 79? So that means still there is some sort of average level of inequality exists. Then Thailand with 74. Then we have India with 127 and Nigeria with 130 ranking. That means inequality wise, the greater the number, so the greater the inequality that we see in these countries. Okay, so offering equality often brings good, and maybe here is the video just to, so maybe you can take it as a humorous way, but also later this advertisement has been removed because of the protest which went on among the African Americans, so they are just pressurizing, so you can just see the video. So it is an uproar which went on with the different races. So race-wise, there is a bias or discriminations we could see. So God created the mankind in his own image, right? In the image of God, he created them, male, female, or whatever the country that belongs to. We being created in the image of God. So, but they try to project the superiority in some certain countries. So will be uproar, and it's a form of a discrimination. So Jesus as a God is against these sort of discrimination. How Jesus might address these gender gap and inequalities. Okay. So Jesus often he went against the cultural norms in showing the values of individuals, whether regardless of the gender, status or background. Jesus was talking to the Samaritan woman, and maybe she belongs to a low class or low class community, and in this case, so I think during those times, Jesus period itself, that women, they used to go for the worship which is being segregated, exclusively meant only for women. But whereas for male, so they have their church services separately. They don't mingle together. It's no point for Jesus to talk to a stranger woman. If it is of a relative within this community that Jesus knows, he's entitled to talk to another woman. So that was a culture in the past. But he used to talk to the Samaritan woman, giving respectfully he used to speak. So we can understand how that Jesus during that time, whether it's the Jews or Gentiles or slave, that he happened to be very polite and embracing whichever the nationality or the gender the people are. So with Christ, he tried to embrace and address gender equality. Then I think because of the time, so I'll try to skip this part. Then dismantling the bias. We cannot ignore all these biases that is happening, discrimination that is happening. We cannot keep quiet. When Jesus was asked, when there is an adulterous woman, the public about to stone, asked Jesus to give some justice. He asked the first person who stoned, if you are not a sinner, any person who haven't committed any sin should be the first person take the stone and throw at this adulterous woman. And none of them had dared to lift a stone because everybody committed the sin in some respect. So lastly, what we have understood is that from the Jesus perspective, what is wealth, what is prosperity is, how much of goodness you can bring to the community. So that is what the wealth is. You cannot store the wealth here on the earth, but store it in heaven. And you prioritize over the faith, values, and integrity. And you practice gratitude and hospitality to the strangers whenever you see, because you've been a stranger in the past, like in Abraham. And with this, I close this session.